What's up, everybody? Or JS, which I think is everybody. What's going on? It's time for the weekly house party. Running with scissors. Hey, how's it going? Uh, long week. This whole 6 o'clock thing crept right up on me. No weird wind noises over the microphone or anything. I've got a fan kind of blowing over to try to prevent the MacBook from overheating again. It's not as hot as it was last time, but it has been 98 degrees here for the last couple of days, and so it hasn't been cool. I'm fine with it, but let's see. Everybody keeps telling me how much I'm going to hate living in Houston when the hot weather gets here. In the last 2 days, it was 98 degrees, bright and sunny out, and I'm like, is that what you're talking about? Because I'm digging it. I went for a 16-mile bike ride yesterday to take care of some errands, and was fine with it. Not fine with it come, I think last year it happened around Thanksgiving. I remember the first day. It was right around Thanksgiving, probably after, I don't know, sometime late November. I went out to my friend's garage in the place where I was living, and I went to go on my bicycle commute to work, and I was like, yo, it was like 45 degrees outside, and I'm still rocking a t-shirt. But I was thankful for it because in Jamestown, New York, July was hot. July just as hot there as it is here. But August 1st, it was 40 degrees outside. I was wearing a sweater all day. I couldn't stand it. I was so miserable because summer goes by like that in Western New York. Here, I'm going to say by the time April 1st hit and beyond, I don't remember dressing warm for a bike ride other than maybe a zip up or something like that. But shorts, bike shoes, no gloves, no booties on my feet. But there were a few times, December, January, February, where it was 20 degrees on my bicycle commute, and I was hating life. Hated that. There's things you can do to get warm, but if you dress for the weather, you can handle just about any weather. But the hassle, the extra clothes, and most of the time on those bike rides, when I would come home in the afternoon, it might be 75 degrees. And so I got to pack all that crap in my backpack and carry it and just make sure I have it for the next one. But I'm thankful because as of yesterday, I've gone on 170 bike rides in 2025. I've got wet feet twice from all the rain. So the rain stays away. I'm telling you, it could be pouring rain, an hour before I have to leave. And then the clouds magically disappear and it's not raining when I have to get on my bike and go. And this happens all the time. I've been rained on a handful of times, aside from the 2 days I have wet feet. But it's more like sprinkling, and it's not a massive downpour, and I don't really get wet. I don't get any, it's more of like a cooling off. But my feet don't get wet, my socks don't get wet, so I don't really count that. So anyway, let's see what we got in the comments. 96 California Riverside. Is that what you're saying is the temperature where you live? They're calling, one weather app, they're all different here. They're calling for 100 to 104 tomorrow, and Saturday's 98. But it changes no matter what app. I could look at 4 different apps for Houston weather, and I'll get 4 completely different predictions. It's definitely a lot more unpredictable here with the weather, what it's going to do, than it was where I came from up in the Northeast. They generally, if they say it's going to rain on Thursday, there's a really good chance it's going to rain on Thursday. Here, Running with Scissors says it's cooling off in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it is about that time. August. I lived up in Mercer, an hour north, and I would always be depressed right around this time of year because I'd be sitting outside at night. All of a sudden, I got to put on a sweater because maybe it's hot during the day, but after the sun goes down, boom, it's like, 50, 60 degrees all of a sudden at night. And we'd be sitting out in the backyard by the fire pit and needing to be dressing warm. And on August 12th, when I was arrested, it was one of those August nights. It was cold. When I came to the door, when the FBI drove a tank into my house, I was wearing nothing but a pair of jeans. That's it. No shoes, no socks, no shirt. My belt wasn't even buckled. And, they were trying to say that I was about to go to blows with the FBI and get into a shootout with them. I certainly wasn't dressed for a shootout with the FBI. If that was my intent, I would have come rocking some body armor. I would have had shoes. I would have buckled my belt. I would have gotten dressed up for the occasion. But anyway, when they hogtied me on the ground and, were stepping on my head and all the shit that they do to you, I didn't have any clothes on, just jeans. And I'm laying on this cold grass in the yard, remembering how cold. I remember how cold that night was. By the time I'm in the freaking interrogation room, I was shaking and I couldn't stop. Like I was having what do you call it? Kind of like a hypothermic seizures or whatever. And someone finally gave me a T-shirt to put on. And, the good cop, bad cop shit. Oh, we're good cops. Now you want something to drink? Can we get you something to eat? Here's a shirt. Blah, blah, blah. So, hey, Angel, what's going on? Definitely thinking about doing that Bible study thing on Sundays. I just got to think of, actually, this would be a good time since people are in the chat. I was thinking of trying to figure out how to do it as a Zoom meeting and then have the Zoom meeting link to a YouTube live stream. I don't know if I have to use something like StreamYard or I don't know what tool. I have a Zoom account, so I could just give people access to my Zoom account, like set up a Zoom meeting with a password and let people in. That way we can talk back and forth, and it doesn't have to be one guy on a video and a bunch of people in a chat going back and forth. It doesn't have to be like that to start, but yeah, I mean, I could email a Zoom link. I have a mailing list. You could go, it's at free.litgood.com. There's a form you can get on. I mean, you may have already signed up for it. I don't know. I haven't even looked at it in forever, but if I can I don't know. I got some things to figure out. Plus, I got to figure out what's the best time. Morning's not going to work because I'm usually pretty much tired. Last Saturday, I did the bicycle thing to the bakery and back. The 50-mile bicycle ride, and I came home. After working 8 hours or so, and then sometime that night, like at 7 o'clock at night, I fell asleep. Done. And I didn't wake up until 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, and I usually don't do that. But last weekend, I was done, and I had no energy Sunday. I barely got myself enough energy to go cook some food at some point. And then I went back and sat in the chair watching the Tour de France that ended that day. But right now, today, I'm on stage 17 of 21. So that race ended last weekend. It was about 4 hours after the Tour de France was over that the spoiler headlines showed up. So I know who won. Doesn't even matter. But I'm still watching it. There's still some good stuff to see. It's not quite the same as the anticipation of not knowing. But to be honest, I already knew after like stage 3 who was going to win. Anything weird on stage 17? There's a whole bunch of stuff. All kinds of stuff. The costume contest is going well. There's a the helicopter flew over a medieval castle, and there was a bunch of people on the top of the castle having a sword fight with their shields and their real swords, and having like a medieval sword fight for the helicopters to show on TV. What was the other? I saw your copious amounts. No, that was a different. Somebody else. Somebody left a comment. Let me just take a quick peek here. I just saw a comment pop up, but I didn't have time to respond to it. Oh, it was you. So it's Thursday and 6:01 p.m. here, Eastern Time Zone. Yeah, it's 7 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. It's 6 on the Central. So, but I see you made it, so that's cool. Let's see here. 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, whatever the other 2, 3, there's 3 more in America, whatever. It's that, do the math. People that live on the West Coast always got to figure that stuff out. That's one thing I learned spending a little bit of time in Alaska. Everything that you're normally used to, if you're in the East Coast, that's when TV is basically set up for. There's so many shows that when I was in Alaska, you'd be used to watching this stuff at like 8 o'clock at night. Now you're in Alaska, it's on at 4 p.m. Sometimes they stagger when the shows come on TV for the different time zones, but the live shows, they're live when they're live. So definitely that was a strange experience when I spent some time, even in California, same thing. But I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't really care. But it was something I did notice. Let's see here. Made it to a live stream. But with the Bible study on Sundays, I think it's a good idea. I just need to find a time that works, and maybe I'll just do it as a YouTube live stream. But I know there's other tools and apps that I can plug into things, and they're not hard to figure out. I just don't. It's more of a time thing. My biggest challenge right now is time management and energy management, and so I'm trying to take things a little bit more seriously now that I'm settled into this place. I've been eating like crap, and I think my diet is having an negative effect. Obviously on the weight it is, but I've been using, I use AI once in a while just to get ideas about things. And I was asking Grok today, I'm like, hey, can you help me manage my time and blah, 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 this and that, give me some suggestions. And Grok came back and gave me a suggestion for an app for mapping called Komoot, K-O-M-O-O-T. I'll answer that in a second. K-O-M-O-O-T, it's a mapping app. I was like, I'll check that out. And it also mapped my ride or ride with GPS, which I'm familiar with those. This Komoot, I was like, I've never used that. I've never even heard of it. So I logged into it, and I created a route from here to the bakery, but it's the route that I normally ride, like the normal way that I go, the normal way I go right now, just to see if it behaves better when I'm trying to customize the route, because Google Maps, when I'm customizing a route, it tries to force me to take bicycle paths that are right next to the road. And so I'll try to force it to take the road. Like, you got to drag the little waypoint over. And it was a little bit stubborn in the woodlands setting this up on Komoot, but it was much more cooperative. Google will just, I'll be going, so I go to Whole Foods sometimes after I leave the bakery, and there's bicycle paths parallel to the road, but I'm just taking the road because it's got wide shoulders, it's faster, way faster, and I don't want to take the bike path. And so I'll set Google navigation to just give me like you're in a car. You know, you just turn on Google and it gives you the map and it turn by turn and all that. It will tell me to turn left to get on a bike path. And if I just go straight because I know better, it will sit there. And yes, I do have a fan blowing on the mic. I asked if people were feeling that, or hearing that, but hopefully that's better. Thanks for pointing that out. I'm trying to keep my Mac from overheating, even though it's not that hot today like last week. Definitely doesn't feel like it's, and the fan's not even on, so I should be good. But this Google it'll sit there and scream at me, no, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. And I'm like, no, and I'll just keep going. And it'll sit there for the next 1.5 miles to 2 miles. It'll keep telling me to turn around and go back where I told you to turn left. And I'm like, get out of here. I know where I'm going. I just need to kind of know, like, I just, a couple of turns I don't have memorized yet. And so it fights you. This other app just seems like I can make a route and follow it. And I don't have to listen to Google screaming and yelling at me. And Google also has that feature on maps that you can save custom maps, preload a route to it, and then have it show up on your phone and just follow the line. But you're not getting the turn-by-turn directions, which I don't need. I can follow a line on the map and know where, it's real easy to know where I have to turn next and all that stuff. But this app was a little more cooperative, just creating a route. The only drawback was if I want to use offline maps, you have to pay them. I think it's $20. It's a one-time fee though. And then you have access to the entire world map that you can download and have offline. So if you're out of the signal range, but I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to use this app a few times because I have a full signal everywhere I go, until I go on one of these 80-mile rides out to the middle of nowhere where there might not be a signal. It'll give me enough time to see if this app's any good. And if it is, I might ditch Google. I've been having all kinds of problems with Google Maps on the Graphene OS phone, and other people are having the same issue as me, where Google Maps will just stop working, and then you have to delete the cache and the stored files, restart Google Maps as if you've never used it before, put in all your preferences and all that garbage, and then wait for the map to load again and start working again. And you get about a week, and it keeps doing it over and over. And a lot of other people are complaining about this bug, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So I'm trying to ditch it for something different. And this might be the key. So Grok, I wasn't even looking for that answer. Grok just says, hey, you might want to try this app. I'm like, I got a few minutes. Why not? I'm like, wow, this looks like it might be the one. It was much easier to make. And it's easy. If I pay for the maps and the offline access, it's very easy to take routes that I make, download a GPX file, and then I can put that GPX file either on my phone, and there's a couple of other apps for offline maps, or I have a handheld Garmin GPS device that is an LCD display with no color. It's straight up, but it would put a line on the device for me to follow if I wanted to have a less obtrusive thing than a phone on my handlebars. And I've used that thing to go on long rides, and 800-mile rides where I preloaded a route, and it's very accurate. It will, if you make a wrong turn, you're going to know within 20 feet whether you zigged instead of zagged or whatever you did wrong. It's going to tell you right off the bat. And 2 AAA batteries, and that thing lasts 7 days. So let's see. I'm going to get into some comments here and see what's up. Copious amounts unknown. Adam, why not have a line outside to hang your wash in the Texas heat? I'm guessing on good hot days it would dry within minutes. I don't need to. It's more work. So I've got these shelving units in the living room, bedroom thing, whatever it is. So the way I'm doing it right now, I've got it down. when they come out of that little washing machine, they're almost dry. Like, that spin cycle is insane on those things. It is way, way more spinny than a regular washing machine. So when these things come out, synthetic shirt like this, it's like dry enough to wear. So what I'm doing now is, first thing I do, dump out my clothes, sort everything out by how long it takes to dry. So jeans, towels, things that take a while to dry get washed first. Then I take a paracord that's already there. All I have to do is unravel it, and I have these wire shelving units. So I just zigzag the paracord now around one shelving unit, and I make a line that has like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 clotheslines stacked vertically in front of the bathroom door. So it is kind of like when I go in and out of the bathroom, it's kind of like dodging the lasers in a Mission Impossible bank robbery or whatever, having to do all this kind of maneuvering and stuff. But I can go in and out of the room quick. So as things come out of the washing machine, I just hang them up on that line, and I've got a fan pointed at it, blowing straight on it at full blast. By the time I'm done, so it usually takes 2 loads of laundry to do all of my clothes for the week, and 3 if I wash. Like this last Monday, I washed a bunch of rags and mop heads and things like that. By the time the laundry part was done, the first things I put on the clothing rack to dry were already dry. Jeans. I had a pair of jeans dry in like 20 minutes, hanging on that line with the air blowing on it. What else? So I mean, by the time the laundry's done, I've already got stuff dry, and so I'm just kind of maneuvering things on that clothesline. So 2 loads of laundry, I get it all hung up, and then I can just kind of walk away. Every time I need to go to the bathroom or walk into the room, I'll just go up to the line, flip things around. You know, if the backside is still damp, I'll flip it around. I'll feel around anything that's dry, I just grab, throw it in the clothing bin. So it works great. I mean, I'm not getting a dryer. There's no need at all for a dryer. This is working really good. I started doing laundry, I think around noon. I think everything was dry at like 3. And the amount of work I had to do was just a few minutes here and there to move things around. So I got it down. The machine works good so far. And at least with the second round on the washing machine, I got a 3-year extended warranty. So that thing, I mean, I don't want to live here more than a year in this place. I signed a 1-year lease, but the beauty of it is when that year is over, it says right in the lease, plus the landlord said that when I moved in here, when the year's up, it goes to a month-to-month lease. I love that because that puts the pressure off of me having to move at the end of a lease or make up my mind to sign another year. I hate that. Going month to month after 1 year, that's the default in most states, where you sign a lease, but if the landlord doesn't renew, or you don't, like the landlord forgets to give you a new lease renewal term, then it just goes to a month to month. So the benefit is when it goes month to month, I just have to give a month's notice that I'm moving out. The drawback could be that he could just decide to raise the rent anytime he wants. And at the end of the next month, I have to pay more rent because it's month to month. At least when you sign a lease, you're locked into a whole year at that price. But as we know, when I was living in that tool shed, that tool of a slumlord decided to try and jack up the rent before the lease term was over, thinking he can just do whatever he wants. And he fucked around and he found out you can't do that. And he found out he lost more money than he would have made if he had just let me finish out the lease. But it all worked out. I would still be there today. The lease was supposed to end tomorrow, today, the end of July. Yeah. So April, May, June, July, August. 6 months. Oh, February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah. It was supposed to end today. So I got a 2-month head start on getting a better life, and it worked out great. And I'm cool with that. Let's see. So true. It is more work, but I love the freshness of my wash hanging outside here in North Carolina. Yeah, I do too. I don't really have a place. I mean, I could put up a clothesline outside. It wouldn't be that hard. I don't have clothespins, but I would just use binder clips. I use the springy binder clips that you get at the office supply store. I use those for pretty much all kinds of random things. So I probably have enough of those in a drawer that I could hang up clothes and just use those as clothespins. Probably work better than clothespins. They work great for sealing, like you got a potato chip bag, fold the points down, roll it up, put one of them binder clips on it. That's better than any of those potato chip clips that people use. It holds a much tighter seal. I use them for other things. Just always have them around. But yeah, the freshness is nice. I'm saying that the work to go out and hang everything up, I would go out 10 minutes later and have to take everything down. It would be bone dry. I mean, it would take, but then again, the other concern is these thunderstorms come out of nowhere. It could be bright and sunny, no clouds in the sky, and I could be sitting here and all of a sudden, boom, what the hell? And I turn around and it's pouring down rain. So it comes out of nowhere, and so I don't want to take all my clothes outside to dry and then they get drenched in a thunderstorm. Copious says, Adam, are you still using the Epsom salts that I recommended? How's the soaking tub? So, I went a whole nother level. If that was you that left that suggestion, I took that thing to a whole nother. When you made that suggestion, I was like, that's a good idea. And so I tried to do a same day Amazon order because I was like, boom, I was like, this is perfect. So I got Epsom salts, baking soda, eucalyptus oil to help clear out the sinuses and whatnot. And what else I got some incense and an incense burner so I can have a little bit of incense burning while I'm taking a bath. I don't have candles, but I have a night light that I was using at the tool shed. So I'd have a little bit of light at night if I needed to go to the bathroom or if I just wanted to have a low light and not be in a completely pitch black room. So that's in the bathroom right now. So I can turn that on, have some incense, eucalyptus oil, baking soda, Epsom salt, hot water. I got, in order to fill the bathtub, whoever designed this place, it was shoddy. It's not horrible by any stretch, but it's not well thought out. There's no faucet to fill the bathtub. So what I did was go on Amazon and I got a shower head with that's removable that you can hold in your hand. But the top of the shower head pops off, just twist and pull, and it turns into a hose. And so I can fill the bathtub with this hose. I also use the same hose to fill the washing machine when I'm doing my laundry, and it fills fast. I mean, it's a high pressure hose. I can use it to do all kinds of things. Like if I have something that needs to be washed down with a hose, I have a hose. I can just close the shower curtain and be like, psh, and it's really high pressure. How it squeezes the water down to a fine stream to where it's coming out. It's a really high pressure shower that'll work if you have low water pressure. Pretty cool. But it does a good job filling the tub fast. Hot. I turned up the heat on the hot water heater. The first time I took a bath, it wasn't quite right. So I turned up the heat, not all the way, but enough. It's hot enough to burn your skin off. Um, so it's perfect. I can get the water exactly the right temperature, and yeah, I can chill in the soaking tub and feel all right. I take a photography tripod with a phone clamp, and I'll just have my phone there watching YouTube videos or whatever while I'm sitting in the tub, and that'll help me. Normally, I won't want to stay in the tub for a half hour or more, but if I have something to occupy my mind and just kind of watch a video or whatever, uh, then the time goes by and I don't feel like getting out of the tub, and I'll just sit there like Tony Montana in his big old hot tub, uh, enjoying it. So it does a good job. It definitely helps with the muscle fatigue and some of the problems I'm having lately. Um, so that's I got to level 5 when I came here. If I'm treating this like a video game, level 1 was coming home from prison. Level 2 was going homeless. That was an upgrade. I was living in that miserable apartment with that miserable person, and when I ended up homeless, I was like, "Oh my God, it's better." I didn't think it would be, but after like a couple of days being homeless, I'm like, "Holy crap, this is better. It's an upgrade from where I was." Um, Boom. Level 3 was when I came to live with my friend. It was an upgrade. Level 4 was moving into that tool shed, which was an upgrade. It was nice to have my own space that I didn't have to, feel like I'm tiptoeing around somebody else's house that's not mine. Um, then all of a sudden, number 5, level 5, where I'm at right now, is when I moved into this place. And it's every time it's been an upgrade, more or less, but they come with problems. And so it's like playing a video game. You get to level 5, you might be cruising along. You're Sonic the Hedgehog. The first 3 sub levels of level 5, you're just going around the loop de loops, collecting all the rings, jumping on this. Oh, you hit a spike. Oh, no big deal. You got your rings back. You get there. All of a sudden, you get to a spot where you're like, oh my God, how do I get past this? And I haven't really reached that yet, but the big theme of this level, sometimes like Mario, sometimes you're on a flat level, sometimes you're in some castle. Then there's a level with Mario where you're underwater and you're swimming across. Like each level has its own theme. The theme to this level is like figuring out how to get my energy back and to figure out how to do everything I want to do with the time that because time is one you can make more money, you can get in shape. I could get a car that would make that part of life easier and all those different things. But at the end of the day, you can't get more time. The closest thing you can come to getting more time is if you're a business owner, you can hire people to make more time, but that's about the closest you can do. Yeah, I would say, well, level 6 is probably level 5. I think the car is just part of that. But things are a little better. I got to pay rent tomorrow, but I will have more money left in the bank after I do it than I did last month when I did it. So I'm getting there. The same thing happened the last time I moved. All these unexpected expenses and expected expenses. Moving isn't cheap. You figure out what you have and you don't have and all that. I didn't even have anything to sleep on the last time I moved. I had to buy a camping cot with a memory foam mattress, and that's what I've been but I got a nice one. I spent some money on that, probably as much as I would have spent on a bed, but I didn't have room in the tool shed for a regular bed, so that did the job. So there's all these things. After I moved in here, I want to make some baked potatoes and stuff like that. I don't even have an oven. I don't have a pan for my oven. Like I'm starting from zero, things that a 49-year-old guy would normally have. But when, I told somebody at work, I haven't really had this conversation at the bakery about what happened. Like, how come you're a 49-year-old dude working at a bakery with a bunch of teenage girls, and why don't you have a car and all these other, why did you move to Houston when your kids are in Pittsburgh? All that people ask, but I'm just like, kind of dance around it. I'm like, well, some things happened. Maybe someday we'll talk about whatever, but I don't think they would judge me based on what happened because they've gotten to know me and they know I'm pretty chill and I'm a good guy. But somebody was digging in a little bit. And I said, well, it's basically like a tornado came through my trailer park and tore my mobile home to shreds. And the biggest piece left over was about that big. That's the situation. So Tyler Thunder, new arrival. What's up? Your live stream showed up in my feed. Well, that's a good sign because YouTube's kind of shadow banned this channel. So if you watch some of the videos, you'll find out why. It's not that. It's pretty obvious. So yeah, if you don't know, the story of this channel is I had a good life. I had a nice house, had a really high paying career. I had all the things that you would want in life. I said some stupid shit on Twitter, X, Gab, one of the social media sites. And the FBI showed up at my house with a tank in the middle of the night, drove it into my house, took me off to federal prison, and I got put in prison for 2 years for threatening the FBI. I got out in 20 months instead of 24 months. But as soon as I was out, it was a few weeks later, I was thrown out into the street to be homeless. I was homeless for 5 months in Jamestown, New York. That's when I started doing the YouTube channel because my best friend told me, you should document this. People would love, and I'm like, yeah, people do love to see a train wreck. So the channel kind of took off unexpectedly, really fast. And so I've just been kind of documenting the whole struggle, if you will. But I'll go off on one tangent or another. It's not always the what's going on today. I'm talking about the Tour de France. I'll talk about bicycle commuting. I talk about conspiracies, whatever comes up. You don't really know what the video is going to be about. I don't know what the video is going to be about till I sit down and record one. Some of it was living in a tiny house. Now I live in a bigger tiny house. It feels like an apartment, but I guess it's like a size of it's basically a single wide trailer that was gutted and turned into like a more modern layout with wide open space instead of nooks and crannies. I'm digging it. It's all right. It's much better than where I was before. So I'm just kind of rebuilding a life that crashed and burned. And Copious Amounts Unknown says, you should write a book. Might be a bestseller. You never know. I've got more than one idea there. 3 ideas for a book. That's a lot. But think about it, really. People don't read. People don't read anymore. I mean, the best sellers, that's all like scam. Like Kamala Harris, all these politicians, these dirtbag politicians, they get out of office and they're like, oh, I'm writing a book. Honestly, you think Kamala Harris can write a fucking book? Get out of here. Kamala Harris couldn't even write a children's book for kindergartners without help from somebody. So Hillary Clinton says, oh, I'm going to write a book. She don't write no book. They have what's called a ghostwriter. They have somebody that writes a book for them and then puts their name on it. Whatever, something or other. Hillary Clinton, she didn't write that book. She might have had to talk to the author a couple of times for an hour on Zoom or something like that, but the author isn't her. And the reason why these book deals go down, now you think about like Hillary Clinton or Kamala, whoever it is, they get $50 million in an advance to write a book. And then this book comes out, nobody buys it. It's at the Goodwill for 50 cents a week later because nobody wants it. The whole thing is that's how they do money laundering. That's like one of many ways that they accept bribes and do money laundering. You do this for me, I'll get you a book deal. You'll get 50 million from the book deal. Hey, you don't even have to write the book. We got this ghostwriter. They'll write the book, put your name on it. You got to go on the talk shows for a few days, promote the book. Nobody's going to want to buy it. 50 people are going to buy it, but we'll scam our way to the New York Times bestseller list and all that. And then all the unsold copies at Barnes & Noble get shipped off to Goodwill. And then, nobody's going to buy it even when they go to Goodwill, but you'll see it on the shelf. You'll see 50 copies of Kamala's book a week, maybe a month after it comes out. So, Michael Obama probably has a book. Like, none of they don't write books, and people don't read books. So I'm like, do I want to write a book when nobody reads books? Or do I want to just focus on doing videos? Because everybody wants to watch videos now. They don't want to read a book when they can watch TV or watch a movie or whatever. So I don't know if a book is the right idea, but I don't know. I'm helping a guy. I have a client right now. He wrote a book. He's got an editor helping him edit the book now. I just designed the book cover for him. We're going to promote the book on his website, and I'll share it with you guys too as things get a little more along. Maybe within the next week or two. I don't know. Let's see. Kamala wrote her book 107 days talking about her campaign. Her campaign was like 2 days. Nobody voted for her. Nobody voted for her. They're just like, oh, you're the nominee now. And everybody was like, no. And that was the end of it. That quick. The only thing I enjoyed about watching that was all these people in Jamestown had their Joe Biden flags out in front of their house. And then 2 weeks later, they had to go buy Kamala Harris flags off of Amazon or whatever and switch the flags out in front of their house. And I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be great if they could just find one more candidate to replace her with? So these people got to go out and buy new flags and change all the signs in their yard for the third time. That would be freaking great. Copious says, I prefer books. I'll tell you what, I did read books when I was in federal prison and jail in general. I read about 250 books in the 20 months I was locked up. I could go through a book like that in a day. I could read, I read the entire, what is it called? I read the entire Last Kingdom series, which is the Saxon stories. There was at least, I think there were like 12 books in that series. Read that in like maybe a month. I had a list of every single book that I read, but somehow that list didn't make it with the paperwork that I sent home. There were different times that I would have to take paperwork and send it home because I wouldn't be allowed to keep it because they were sending me from one jail to another jail or whatever, and they don't let you take anything, but they'll give you a box and say you can send this back home. And so I would just send stuff home. But that's one thing I don't have is the list of books. At least the first one of the lists is missing. Some of the books I know, some I don't, and I'll remember some and I won't remember others. And but I read about 250 books, series. I read more than one series. I read the whole Aragon series plus the side books. I read the Last Kingdom series. I read the there was another book series. I can't remember I can't remember. It wasn't that great. That's why I don't remember. A lot of books. I read so many different random books. But I was reading the Kingsbridge series by Ken Follett. And I read the first 3 books of that series. And those are some thick mamba jambas. And, but I read them like nothing. And I was on the next, so somebody gave me the next book in the series. It's called The Something of Light. I'm looking at it, but I can't read the one word from here. I started reading it a couple days before I came home from prison. It's been sitting there with a bookmark in it since I got home because I don't want to read a book now. Copia says, we should start a YouTube book club. How funny would that? You can do it. I'm not I'm not reading book. I have no desire to read books for a while. And it's not because I don't like to read. It's just I got booked out. I overbooked. I had at least when I was in Danbury Federal Prison, they had an actual library and like a building, not huge, but they had ample amounts of books. There was absolutely no shortage of books there. When I was in Butler County Jail, they tried to make it so inmates couldn't have books at all. They literally made it impossible for you to get a book sent to you. So the only books you could get your hands on at that point were books that people already had in the jail. And so it was like you had to have like a book network, a book club, like you're saying, where like, hey, I'll give you this book when I'm done reading it. If you can I get that book from you? And so I always, when I was at that Butler County shithole, I always had a stack of books. And at some points in time, I would have about 15 to 20 books in my pile. Didn't think I would ever read all of them, but I always, because we could be locked in our cells for an entire week without even being able to go take a shower, just locked in a tiny little box for an entire week, having your food given to you through a slot in the door. And the only thing that would keep me from going batshit crazy was having a book to read. And if I didn't have a book to read, I don't know, I might have hung it up. I might have Jeffrey Epstein myself if I didn't have something to keep me sane in those situations. So I always had, and now at that Butler County jail, they would torture you. So one of the things they would do, the guards would come in and shake down your cell. They'd take all your books because according to the jailhouse rules, you're only allowed to have like 3 books. So they'd see my pile of books in the back corner of the cell and be like, just take them all. Put them somewhere on the pod, and then I'd have to wait until the fucking guard was gone for his shift, and then I'd have to go get my books back and bring them all back into the cell and track them all down and whatever. So, but it was a constant battle with those dirtbags to read books. They wanted to take away books. They wanted to make it so you couldn't have a book, but legally they're in a very gray area there, and the lawyers and the it's like they truly wanted prisoners to riot in that jail, because then that gives them a reason to beat them down, keep them locked in their cells for a month at a time, come out once a month for a shower and get back in your cell, like that kind of shit. Place out of the 4 places I had to be locked up, that was the worst, by far the worst. I didn't see the sun for 14 months. Didn't see the sun. Didn't know what it looked. Didn't know what a tree looked like anymore, other than they had TVs. But the jail is loud. People are screaming and yelling. It's like being in a grade school cafeteria 24 hours a day. People just screaming and yelling nonstop. And so there were TVs, but you couldn't hear anything. You could watch TV, but you couldn't hear anything. I didn't know what TV sounded like for 14 months. They would take you to court. You'd be like, oh, you're going to court today. Oh, no shit. You'd think, oh, I might get to see outside. No, they load you up into a van inside of a garage. The van's got blacked out windows. You can't see out of it. It's pitch black in the back until they turn on this bright ass LED light that shines right in your face. And then they drive you all the way to Pittsburgh, which and from Butler is a 45-minute drive, while you're bouncing around in the back of a van. And then they take you into an underground garage at the federal courthouse in Pittsburgh, drag you out. And then when you're in the federal courthouse, there's no windows. I mean, they take you all the way in and out. You go to court, you come back. You never saw out a fucking window the whole day. You're gone. It's miserable. I remember the first time I got to see outside after 14 months. They took me to this place in Ohio called if you wanted to Google it, you would have to look up Northeast Ohio Correction Center, CCA. It's a private prison. It's a privately run prison run by a corporation called Corrections Corporation of America. It's a fucking disaster of a place. But they let us go outside for an hour a day and walk around a track and play basketball or whatever you would do. And the first time I saw the sun, I walked one lap around that freaking track and I was beat. My body was so completely destroyed. It was probably not a quarter mile. It was probably like 500 feet or something. And I like the length of a football field, like walking around the edge of a football field, one lap. And I was too tired to walk anymore. I sat down on a bench and I looked up in the air and I'm like, just saw the sun. And I was like this. And you don't cry in prison. You get the shit kicked out of you. But I mean, if I was by myself, I would have been bawling like my mom just died. But I'm just sitting there looking at the fucking sun. I haven't seen the sun in 14 months. Haven't seen a tree. And I was dumbfounded for like the first 2 weeks being in that place. I was just completely dumbfounded by being able to see outside. The windows of that prison, you could look outside and see outside. In the Butler County Jail, they have windows. And the reason why you don't see the sun there is because they have windows, but they're frosted glass, so you can't see outside. There's not a single window in the Butler County Jail where you can look outside. They make it so that you don't get to see what outside looks like. For 14 months, you don't see it. You don't see the outdoors. They do that they leave the lights on at night when you go to bed in the Butler County Jail. I never saw the sun, never saw a tree. For 14 months, I had to sleep with a blanket over my head because they leave the lights on in the cell. There's no way to turn the lights on and off. They do that to you. The federal government tortures you when you're waiting for your trial because they're trying to break you down to get you to sign a plea deal and a confession. It's the same thing they did in the medieval days. They put you on that fucking rack and stretch your body out, put you in the Iron Maiden or whatever it is that they would do, torture you. And all they say, sign your confession and it all ends. Just sign your confession and we'll make it stop. That's what they do. That's what the federal government does. They have a 98% conviction rate. So if you get arrested by the federal government, guess what? You're guilty. Done. That's it. Even Puff Daddy didn't have enough money to be found not guilty by them. The worst of his charges were dropped because that's what they do as well. The prosecutor will do what's called stacking, where they just throw a bunch of, it's basically, let's throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. They'll charge you with an outrageous number of charges and counts. And then it's up to your lawyer to get all of those dropped. And so in my case, they gave me 14 counts. 12 or 13 of them would have been dropped if I went to trial. But the problem is they only had to get one count to stick. And then it's the same sentence. It's the same prison sentence for one count or all 14 of them. It didn't matter. I would have to win all 14 of them in order to go home. And even then, you're looking at 2 years sitting in jail waiting for your fucking trial because you have a right to a speedy trial. That's a bunch of bullshit. Let's see. What else? Oh, and if you get charged with a federal crime and not a local or state crime, that starts out at $100,000 for a lawyer. $100,000 to fight your case. And that's $100,000 just to get a lawyer to come down and sit and talk with you for a little bit and then try to get you a plea deal. That's $100,000. You go to trial, now you got to come up with $250,000, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. Nobody has that. So everybody who gets charged with a federal crime, unless you are rich, like you're a member of the cartel, you're a rich drug dealer. Like I'm telling you, I know a guy, I'm not going to say his name or anything else. I know a guy who paid $2 million for his lawyer and he was still waiting in jail for 2 years for a trial. The record should only reflect the counts that stuck. not the ones that were thrown at you, makes your record look worse. It does. But so what happened to me, I guess it was one mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. It was a roll of the dice. The only option I really had if I wanted to go home. Okay, so if the prosecutor offered a plea deal, drop 12 of the 14 counts and give me a 24-month sentence, and there were some other things, but they were trying to do all these add-ons and enhancements, and they wouldn't drop those. My lawyer thought she could get those dropped. There was plenty of evidence to get them dropped. She says, if we can get rid of those enhancements, what you can do is plead guilty to all 14 counts. But if we get those enhancements dropped, then you're going to go home at your sentencing hearing. You're going to go home that day. You get time served. So that's what we were fighting for. So the trade-off was, I don't accept the plea deal. I plead guilty to all of it, get the enhancement dropped that was adding significantly to the sentence, and then go home at my sentencing date, which would have been 14 months. And so the judge didn't buy it. So now I pled guilty to all 14 and the enhancement stuck. He did drop one enhancement that the prosecutor didn't want to drop, which helped me a little bit. But at the end of the day, the judge gave me the same sentence that I got from the plea deal. The only difference was with the plea deal, there were only 2 counts. The sentence I got included all 14 counts. So now, when somebody does a background check on me, there's 14 counts of Adam threatening the FBI 14 times instead of 2. What they did was take 7 social media posts, charged me with 2 crimes for each post, and then got a grand jury to indict me on all of it. But a grand jury, I don't know what you know about court. I know more now than I ever did. When a prosecutor puts something in front of a grand jury, the grand jury just goes, yeah, sure. All right, good. They don't care. They do not. A grand jury is never going to not indict you when a prosecutor puts a case in front of a grand jury. I don't think it's ever happened. It's pretty much automatic. Just like when you get charged by the federal government, you're automatically guilty. The chances of what are the words I'm trying to think of? So 98% conviction rate, but that's because they torture you and they extract a confession out of you in the form of a plea deal by hanging something over you. Either you get to go home if you plead guilty, or we send you to Club Fed where you get to play pickleball, go to spinning class, run around on the track outside, sleep in a dorm instead of a jail cell, and all the other benefits. They call it Club Fed for a reason. It's straight up. When you've been spending 14 months in a fucking hellhole like I was in, you go to Club Fed, it feels like a big upgrade in your life, and they dangle that over people to get them to extract a plea. Torture. We'll make it stop if you sign. We'll make it stop if you sign. People break down. There's a couple people that were in that Butler County jail for 6 years waiting for their trial. 6 fucking years locked up in that jail being tortured for 6 years. Never saw a day in court. Just dragging it out because they didn't want to plead guilty unless they got a good deal. They're sitting there for 6 fucking years waiting to go to court. There were things that my lawyer could have done. My lawyer could have challenged some of the counts, but there's no deadline. So she could have said, okay, let's try to get the judge to drop the counts that aren't constitutional. The judge could have let me sit there for 3 more years while he just sits on it and decides, well, there's no deadline. My lawyer said you could sit in jail for 2 more years while your judge contemplates what he's going to do. And then if he doesn't drop the charges, you still have to wait for a trial date and go through all the shit. I could just We could talk about this for the rest of the night. All the corruption and the craziness that I saw. And I'm not saying that there are people in the prison system who deserve to be there. No doubt about it. Nobody's going to disagree about that. But I met tons of people that did not deserve it. Tons. Some of the harsh sentences. The federal government, for the same crime, if you get charged by the state that you live in or the city or the town with a crime, if you're going to get whatever the sentence is, if you get charged with the same exact crime by the federal government, the sentence is 5 times worse than whatever the state would. If the state's going to give you a 6-month sentence, federal government's going to give you 10 years for the same crime. The only difference being state court versus federal court. That's it. The same exact crime. That's why the federal government jumps in. A lot of times people will get charged with a crime for something, whatever it was they did. Federal government goes, "Ooh, we'll get that. We'll pick that up." Now you're charged with a federal crime instead of a state crime. You were looking at 3 months in jail, maybe. Now you're looking at 6 to 10 years in prison for the same thing. Yeah, that's what happened to January 6th, according to JS. They had no trial at all. They tell you have a right to a trial. It's fucking bullshit. You don't. You won't see. That's the thing. People who've never been through this assume that what they told you in school and that you have this thing called a constitution and rights and all that. But you don't. You don't. You find out. Any of you, the January 6th people found out how many rights they had and how much constitution they had and all that. No. So, yeah, the FBI tracks down some 90-year-old grandmother because they saw her walking around the Capitol on January 6th and facial recognition, and somebody ratted her out. They tracked her down to Scranton, Pennsylvania, brought her back down to Washington, D.C., threw her in a fucking gulag for one guy that I personally know who got pardoned by Donald Trump. He was locked in a jail cell for 2 years. I believe 28 months, I believe it was, locked in a jail cell in that DC gulag without being able to go out. He was in solitary confinement, not allowed to have visitors, not allowed any human contact, and he got to basically go out of a jail cell to take a shower once a week. Otherwise, he was locked in a 7-foot wide by 10-foot wide cell to just pace around and go fucking batshit crazy. Adam, did the feds seize your assets? Didn't have any. And if I did, yes, they would have. That's another thing the feds do. So it's going to cost you $250,000 for a lawyer when you get charged by the feds. So what happens is the very first thing they do is go through all of your assets and decide what you're worth, where you have money. So you get appointed. The public defender. You get a public defender. They're going to make you pay for the public defender if they can find assets to take from you. If you have none, that as actually works out in your favor. So let's just say I had a couple $100,000 in the bank. I had a retirement account. I had a house. They would have taken my house, my retirement account, everything. They would have taken everything I owned, gone. And then they tell you, okay, good luck defending yourself, asshole. Fuck you. They take everything you own, all your assets, all your money, everything that they can find and gobble up. They take it from you, and then you're left with nothing to fight them. And the government, the federal government, has an unlimited amount of funds to prosecute you. The federal government can spend $100 million to prosecute you, but they're not going to leave you with $5,000 in the bank to defend yourself with. You get a public defender. The public defender gets a budget of $10,000. The federal government gives your public defender $10,000 to work with to handle your case. So your public defender's juggling like 100 to 200 cases per lawyer. What happened to all of your vehicles? Gone. Gone. I had two when I got arrested. No, I mean everything. My ex came to my house and gathered up enough stuff to put in storage, various things that were important to keep, and just random stuff too, because this whole thing, I couldn't really talk to her. We couldn't communicate very well. So it was like she just did the best she could to come and get stuff to try and salvage some things. The FBI had my computers, but photography equipment, things that my bicycles, a handful of other things. Some of that stuff I have here in my place, random stuff. Like I have a wristwatch GPS unit that I got a mount for, and I have it on the handlebars of one of my bicycles. The only reason I have that is because it's one of the random things that was saved. Other things, it's random. It's completely random, and I have some weird stuff like that. I don't have certain things that were important, but I have other things that are like, why do I even have this now? I don't, camping gear and stuff like that. So JS says, yeah, some people who were just wandering around got pulled into the dragnet. Some were really just in the wrong place. Yeah. And then some people were agitators, instigators. There's a guy, look him up, Ray Epps, Rayepps. He was goading people, and he was one of the provocateurs who were trying to encourage people to jump the fences and break into the building. Ray Epps has never been contacted by the FBI or brought before a courtroom or put in handcuffs or anything. But 90-year-old grandma, Grandma Smith, walking around the Capitol building that day, she went to federal prison for that shit. Let's see. Angels in our midst. My son's civil rights were violated, and he took his life a year ago, July 3rd, because of it. I guess that's horrible. I couldn't even, I have two kids that I don't even get to see anymore. And that hurts. That kills me. That just like, I can hardly talk about it because it's so hard to talk about. I get asked questions a lot at the bakery about, what about your son? What about your daughter? Blah, blah, blah. And I have to kind of dance around it because I'm not comfortable enough to talk about this stuff with them because it's work. People could easily Google it. You look me up on Google, it's right there. It's not like you can hide from it. I'm too stubborn to take my own life. Like, I hate these people in charge so much that if I can do anything to pull the rug out from under them and pay them back for what they've done to me and others, however I do it, and I'm not saying violence, I'm saying like speaking out against it, waking people up, doing whatever I can do, then I'll do it. Like, these people are scum of the earth. These are the same people that get private islands so that they can kidnap kids, take them to the island and rape them and get away with it. And now you got Donald Trump's, what Epstein files? What are you talking about? After, he gets into office, he's like, we're going to release the Epstein files. And 6 months later, what are you talking about? What Epstein files? We don't have any Epstein files. Why are you still talking about that? What happened to him? Who had a meeting with Donald Trump and said, hey, next time we're not going to miss. If those Epstein files come out, next time we won't miss. And he was like, oh, what are you talking about? What Epstein files? I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm too stubborn to do that. But yeah, I don't have the energy to fight it, but I need to. Yeah, I get it. Nobody had the energy to fight back against the federal government when I was in jail. They take everything from you. They take your energy away. They torture you. They do everything that they can do to destroy you. And I don't mean I mean like utterly destroy you and turn you into, they want you to get drugged up. They tried to pump me full of drugs. They had me meeting with a psychiatrist constantly, trying to shove drugs into me. I would say no. They try to turn you into a drooling vegetable who has absolutely no power at all. It's ridiculous how the voters can't remember what was said 4 years ago. There's a 3-day news cycle now. Something happens on a Tuesday, Friday, we're not talking about that anymore. That's over. That's done. That we're on to the new thing. Fires in California, that was 3 days ago. Now we're talking about the drones flying around the cities. And then 3 days later, it's the Jeffrey Epstein stuff that Trump said. And now we're talking about, I don't know, what's the latest thing that happened there? Oh, we're going to arrest Obama and the gang for being traitors. No, they're not. No, they're not. I don't know if anybody's, I hope none of you are like sitting on the edge of your seat hoping that Hillary Clinton and Obama and all them are about to get arrested for tampering with the election and all the stuff that they did back in 2016 that's coming out now. They're not. They don't. They're not. The people like that, they don't get arrested. Those kind of people don't. Hillary Clinton, what is it? I'm gonna look on my phone here. I got the perfect little. Do I have it saved? A little meme or something? I get all my news from memes now because all the news websites want you to pay to be able to read the news. I'm like, no. I'll just get my news from memes. It's probably better that way. Let's see. No, I don't even have what I was thinking I had. No. But I mean, yeah, we got this Russia collusion hoax, no arrests. January 6th, the perpetrators of it, no arrests. Only the people that were in the Capitol and stormed the Capitol that day. The people that orchestrated the raid on Donald Trump's house, Mar-a-Lago, no arrests. How about all the people that used the auto pen machine to sign all of the documents that Joe Biden had to sign because he was too incoherent as a president, pretending to be a president, pooping in his adult diapers all day, having to be reminded every day at noon, hey, Joe, you're the president, right? What? Oh, yeah, cool. And then he goes to bed at 2 p.m. All the people that signed all the pardons. Joe Biden didn't fucking have any idea what was going on with that. No arrests. How about the people that rigged the 2020 election? No arrests. No arrests there. How about how many Epstein pedophiles that took the kids to Epstein Island and raped kids? How many of them got arrested? None. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's still sitting in federal prison for trafficking children to nobody. If there was no customers, why is she still in prison? The COVID scam, Dr. Fauci's shots, and all the people that died from taking those vaccines, no arrests, zero. How about Benghazi? How about the people that died in Benghazi because Hillary Clinton wouldn't fucking do anything to save them when they were being attacked? No arrests. Nobody got in trouble for that. What about when Elon Musk jumped in and helped Donald Trump uncover all this massive government spending and all of this government waste? Like, did you know that we just spent $500 million to study the mating habits of the transgender Siberian squirrel population? Why are we doing that? And all the other money laundering and all the other stuff that was uncovered, all the people that tried to delete their financial records, and Elon was like, they're undeleted now. We have the records. How many times did Donald Trump say, we're going to go to Fort Knox and see if the gold is still there? Nothing. No arrests. No gold in Fort Knox. They're not going to check. Donald Trump was like, we're going to audit the Federal Reserve. I'm going to go over there and see what's going on over there. Nothing. The Federal Reserve Bank, they're spending $4.5 billion to renovate the Federal Reserve Bank building in Washington, D.C. The Dallas Cowboys stadium, the NFL stadium, cost like $1.5 billion or something like that to build, but it costs $4.5 billion to renovate the Federal Reserve Bank building in Washington, D.C. You could build 3 NFL stadiums from scratch for what the Federal Reserve has taken taxpayer money to renovate their building. Nothing. Donald Trump says, I'm going to go over there and see what's going on. Nothing. That was in the 3-day news cycle. It's been more than 3 days, so that's gone. Ozzy Osbourne died 3 days later. We're not talking about that anymore. That's over. I don't even see any Ozzy Osbourne videos or anything on YouTube anymore. That's gone. The Ukraine scandal. Oh, we're not going to send money to Ukraine anymore until next week when they ask for another $500 billion. We're going to put a stop to that. No, we're not. I mean, just all these fucking people, all they ever do is feed us a load of horse shit and gaslight us and lie to our face. I never said that 5 years ago. Well, we can go to YouTube. Right here's where you said it. Hit play. Here's the person saying the thing that they said they didn't say. And then they're still like, well, I didn't say that. Like said he'd eliminate the IRS. Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, this whole, like, they're all a bunch of scumbags. And I got some sun coming in here. They're liars, thieves, scumbags, all of them. I gave Donald Trump a chance. He hasn't. I'm not impressed by what I've seen so far. Just a bunch of talk. Talk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We're going to see this. We're going to see that. Nothing. It's just same as it ever was. So let's see. What about those who burned down whole cities in the Summer of Love? Yeah. No, that's why I thought, oh, they're not going to come to my house because I talked shit on Gab. They let the Democrats burn down Minneapolis to the ground. Seattle, they burned and set Seattle on fire, and then they set up a homeless camp in the middle of the city and took over the whole city and wouldn't let anybody drive or go in there, wouldn't even let the cops come in and shut it down. Chaz, remember it was called, it had some dumb name, and none of those people have seen a jail cell. So I'm like, oh, so I'd be better off. I shared a jail cell with a guy. He was a good guy. I'm not judging him. He made a dumb mistake, like I did. He killed somebody, killed a guy, driving drunk. Long story short is he got 14 months in jail for killing somebody. I was sharing a jail with him after getting 2 years in prison for mean tweets. I can't look at that and say that anything, there's no justice there. Guy who posts angry rants on social media gets 2 years in prison. Another guy who kills somebody gets 14 months. So I'm like, holy shit. I could have gone out and got shit-faced drunk, drove around, run over a guy on a bicycle and killed him, and I would have been home quicker than saying mean things on Twitter. And my criminal record wouldn't even be as bad. If I killed somebody, like, it doesn't even make any sense. And people are going to be like, well, Adam doesn't accept responsibility for what he did. No, I do. I've paid the price. I have paid the price for that and many other things that I haven't done yet. The price has been paid. Like, I've paid it. Angels in Our Midst says, I drove through that Minneapolis riot, smoke, fire, rioting. It was awful. Yeah, I was out there. That was in, so I was out there in October of 2020. So it had already taken place. That place was burned out. I remember that whole area was still burned out. I remember being in downtown Minneapolis, driving this yellow Jeep, And now I don't wear Trump hats. I don't have anything. Something about me tipped off the Antifa crowd that I might be someone they want to beat up. And I just was like, well, I'll just say it. I was strapped. I guess I'm not supposed to be there, but I just kind of leaned over. I'm like, you really want to come at me with that 2x4? And they were like, nope, they left. I took a lot of nice photos of Minneapolis, some of the parks, the waterfall, some of the other things going on. There were a lot of cool stuff I saw. And then we drove back to Pennsylvania through the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and spent a good amount of time up in there camping in the Upper Peninsula, Painted Rocks and all those cool things. Seeing whatever we could see from the Jeep. We didn't, see Painted Rocks properly. You've got to go out on the lake in a kayak. But we definitely saw some cool stuff. Camped some beautiful campsites in the national forests there. Spent a day in Detroit. I got some really good photographs of Detroit, and just made a nice trip out of it. A friend of mine had to go up to Minneapolis for a conference, and so we drove and made a big old road trip out of it. Mostly peaceful protests, yeah. Mostly peaceful. Angel says, my son waited 6 months and wasn't charged. 4 days after he took his life, the judge made a decision. It was so minor, but my son thought it was going to be bad. And they do that to you. Here's a story. Talk about this kind of shit. There was a guy I shared a jail cell with. I shared a lot of cells with a lot of cellies, especially in that Butler County jail. You might change cells 3 times in a week. Speedy trial, that doesn't happen. Here's an example. I'm going to give you another example. They tell you have the right to a speedy trial. If you exercise that right and you push to get the speedy trial, what happens is the judge, the prosecutors, all the lawyers, everybody in the courtroom gets mad at you. Because now they got to juggle their schedule around. They got to move the things around on the calendar. They got to fit it in. And maybe the judge had a fishing trip planned for that day, and all of a sudden now he's got to come in and be a judge. So they're all pissed at you. And then they're going to throw the book at you. So there is a story of a guy who was looking at, like, he probably would have got a year in jail or something like that, but he pushed for his speedy trial. The judge gave him 10 years because he fought to get a speedy trial. And he insisted to get that speedy trial that you're supposedly guaranteed in the Constitution. They're like, all right, motherfucker, you want your speedy trial? Well, you're going to get a speedy jail sentence for 10 fucking years. He got the maximum sentence for whatever it is he did when he was only facing like a year for whatever it was, because he pushed to have that speedy trial. And that's what my lawyer was telling me. My lawyer was like, if you ruffle their feathers, they're going to come down on you. You have to your public defender doesn't work for you. The public defender gets a paycheck from the government. She's working for the government. She's literally a fucking employee of the prosecutor. Like they're going out to lunch maybe to talk about your case. You do this favor for me, I'll do that favor for you, blah, blah, blah. They meet with the judge. They're all going out, having a good time. Maybe take a flight to Epstein Island, whatever they do, and then they come back and they're like, okay, here's what we worked out. You're just going to have to sit there 14 months. Then maybe we'll go to the courtroom and see what we can do. you have the right to a speedy trial, but if you exercise that right, you're done. They're going to be so mad at you for doing that they will take that anger out on you in the form of some draconian sentence. So there's a guy, the story I was about to tell. I shared a cell with him. He was charged with felony theft. He was a landscaper. He worked for a landscaping company. The guy that he worked for wasn't paying him. He borrowed a chainsaw a couple months ago, just a regular old chainsaw from Home Depot. The specific chainsaw cost about $250. So he borrowed a chainsaw from his boss, had it at home, used it, whatever. He was working. His boss wasn't paying him, owed him a bunch of money, so he quit. He kept the chainsaw. He never gave the chainsaw back. So he's driving around one day, like 6 months to a year after the fact. He gets pulled over. The cops take him to jail because he's wanted on a warrant for felony theft. Turns out the boss filed a police report about the chainsaw. So they turned this into a felony theft case, like the kind of felony theft like you Grand Theft Auto, like stealing something $5,000 or more is what the charge was. He was facing 3 years in prison for stealing a $250 chainsaw, and it was something he borrowed and didn't give back after his boss didn't pay him. So now he's sitting in jail. 3 fucking months that dude sat in jail. Never saw a public defender, never saw a courtroom, never talked to a single person. Every single day, he's going up to the guards. I want to speak to a lawyer. They're like, fuck you, go back to your cell. I want to speak to a lawyer. Here, fill out this form. I want to speak to a lawyer. I want to speak to a lawyer. I want to speak to a lawyer. Every single day, they were like, fuck you. He'd have a court hearing scheduled. They would tell him, they'd be like, they'd yell out his name. He'd get handed a sheet of paper. Oh, I've got a court hearing on such and such date. Then the date would come. They wouldn't take him to court. 3 months he sat there. 3 months. Then they sent him a piece of paper. Sign here and we'll only give you 2 years in prison. The prosecutor sent him a sheet of paper through the prison, just gave him a sheet of paper, said, here's what we'll do. We'll drop it down to this felony charge, and instead of 3 years in prison, you go to state prison for 2 years. And he's like, no, I want to see a lawyer. I haven't even talked to a fucking lawyer yet. 2 months has gone by. He didn't talk to a lawyer yet. Nobody saw him. He's trying. He can't even get a public defender to come in and see him. Just sitting there, waiting. Every time there's a court date, nothing. They don't take him to court. So on and so forth. So anyway, he's sitting there. It's going on the 3rd month. And I'm telling you, every single day, this dude's like, I want to talk to a fucking lawyer. I want to talk to a lawyer. What the fuck? I want to talk to a lawyer. You're violating my rights. I haven't spoke to a lawyer. It's been 3 fucking months. Finally, this public defender comes in to see him. She goes, yeah, I worked it all out. You're going to go home tomorrow. So in the meantime, so what had happened, how it got resolved, the family of the guy were going to the courthouse. They were banging on the walls. They were putting up a stink in the town about how, my brother, my son, my uncle, whatever, that his whole family was raising a big stink about how he was locked in this jail. Nobody can see him. Nobody can talk to him. He doesn't have a lawyer, all this other stuff. The court's jerking him around, blah, blah, blah. So that started. They're calling the judge's office on a daily basis to the point where they're getting threatened to be put in jail for harassing the judge. The guy who he worked for, the guy whose chainsaw it was, found out what was going on. He was like, holy shit. All he did was file a police report, and he had no idea this was all going on. So now he is actively talking to the judge, calling the district attorney, saying, I want to drop the charges. I got this bright light coming in. Nothing I can really do. But so the guy whose chainsaw it was wanted to drop the charges. The prosecutor said, no, we're not dropping the charges. So the guy whose chainsaw it was doesn't want to charge him anymore, didn't want to see him go to jail, he literally just wanted his chainsaw back. And he thought if he filed a police report, that would help him get his chainsaw back. But instead, it got the guy put in jail for 3 months without access to the court or a lawyer. So now the guy whose chainsaw it was, the family of the guy, they're harassing the judge at this point. They're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You can't just leave him in jail forever. When are you going to let him come to court? So finally, after 3 months, he spent Christmas in jail, Thanksgiving in jail. Now it's January. Public defender shows up, just some chick with a nose ring, a bunch of tattoos, and a shaved head. Public defender. She comes in, she goes, I got it all worked out for you. You're going home tomorrow. You're going to have to go to a hearing. You're going to have to plead guilty to this misdemeanor, and there's going to be a fine. How much is the fine? I don't know. But this is what we got. She's like, good thing you didn't sign that document. You'd be on your way up the river to go to prison for 2 years. But they're dropping it down to a misdemeanor shoplifting type of charge, and you're basically allowed to go home tomorrow. You'll just have to show up to a court hearing, at which point you're just going to have to pay a fine. That fine could be like $20,000. Who knows? He had to sign this document with no idea what the fine was going to be. But at that point, you're like, I'll do whatever I have to do to be able to go home. He lost his home. He was living in, I don't know where he was living. He lost his home while he was in jail. So he was homeless now, but he had relatives and family to help him out there. But he lost everything. Everything that was in his home was gone, cleaned out. He was evicted. All because he borrowed a chainsaw and didn't give it back. Yeah. Wow. Newcomers get treated better than citizens. You're a shitizen. You're not a citizen. We're all a bunch of shitizens. And that's what, yeah. A lot of people were giving me crap about being on food stamps when I was homeless and all of that. I was on homeless and food stamps for like 5 months. When I got to Texas, I still have money on my food stamps. I went grocery shopping like a pimp. I filled a shopping cart with the food stamps I had left. Whatever I wanted. The surf and turf, the filet mignon, the lobster, whatever. I didn't care at that point. But people were giving me crap about being on the food stamps and stuff. I'm like, number one, I've paid enough taxes in my lifetime to more than make up for the $1,500 or whatever it was that they gave me in food stamps. And did you know that, like, when an illegal immigrant comes to America, they get a preloaded food stamp card with like $10,000 on it? And they get put up at the Waldorf Astoria at a 5-star hotel in New York City. They get a food stamp card preloaded with $10,000, and they get a cash assistance card with another $10,000 on it. All free money from the United States government. Welcome to our country. But if you're a citizen who got put in federal prison for 2 years for mean tweets, and then you come out and you're thrown out into the street to be homeless, they give you $400 a month in food stamps. This is New York State, Jamestown. And they give you about just under $200 in cash assistance that you're supposed to use to pay rent and stuff like that. And I did have free health insurance. I didn't know I had to go get a psychiatric evaluation as part of my sentence, my probation requirements. And so I was expecting to have to pay. I'm trying to block the sun here. There's not much else I can do. I thought I was going to have to pay something, but I was on Medicare or Medicaid, whatever it is for poor people, and I didn't have to pay anything. But yeah, the illegals, they get loaded up. They get everything for free. They don't have to work. Citizens you don't get squat. If your town gets destroyed by a flood and all your property is destroyed and your home is washed down the river, FEMA shows up and says, here, we'll give you a $700 check. But just go to the website and fill out the forms because nobody has internet. Ha ha! Good luck. So, yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Citizens are treated better than the peons, or the immigrants are treated better than the peons. That is for sure. Let's see here. Go back. I'm just looking at how many participants we got. We're down to 3, but that's fine. I'm having a good time. Oh, cool. The sun has moved out of the way so I can take my hand down. They won't help if you had Trump signs. In my court case, the reason why I was so screwed was because I'm branded as a Trump supporter. So the Democrats and the jury, guilty. Screw him. He's a Trump supporter. Oh, the FEMA. Yeah. Yeah, FEMA won't help you if you had Trump signs in your yard. Your house is washed away. If there's a Trump sign still sticking up out of the yard, FEMA's going next door. They're skipping your house. In my situation, being branded a Trump supporter, any Democrats on the jury, guilty, automatically guilty. Best I could ever hope for would be a hung jury. Now on the Republican side, any Republicans on the jury are going to look at it and go, he threatened cops. He threatened the police. The police are America's heroes. The thin blue line, the boys in blue. Don't defund the police. Cops are heroes and all that. So they're going to hate me because you threatened law enforcement. They're the heroes. You threatened the thin blue line. You deserve life in prison for that. So now the Republicans hate me. So it's going to be a unanimous, you're guilty before I even go to trial. Before the jury even gets selected, it's guilty. I had people in the federal prison in Danbury tell me that when they did go to trial, the jury fell asleep during the trial and the judge didn't even make them wake up. Copious says, gotta bounce. It was fun to finally catch up on a live video. Stay strong. Wave goodbye. See ya. All right, have a good night, man. I'm going to stay until the end. Even if nobody's in the room, I'll keep talking just because there's a what do you call it? The pre-recorded video thing, it has a replay. Oh, and now we're up to 4. Now 3 if Copious is taken off. So yeah, whatever. It's cool. We had more people last week, but that's all right. Give that if you didn't give a thumbs up, throw a thumbs up in there. That'll help the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. I recorded a whole video today about YouTube shadow banning people. So I'm going to talk about that just for a minute. Last week there was like 15 people I don't know if it tells you how many people are in here, but I can click a button, but then I have to hide the chat. So I can either look at the number of participants or I can look at the chat. Maybe there's something I can do to see both. So I woke up this morning. I was flipping through the phone, drinking my coffee, and there's a channel. Maybe some of you know who she is. There's a channel, this girl, her screen name is Refashioned Hippie. And she does all these really hilarious videos about bad logo designs, bad fashion, and a bunch of other different things. And she's got big boobs. And so she kind of throws those in the screen while she talks. But she's funny. It's entertainment. She's always got funny videos. I've sent her things that she's used in her videos before, but she's got like 250,000 followers, or should I say had. I opened up Instagram, which I almost never opened, but I was just kind of going through the rounds, checking all my accounts to see what was going on. And a video of hers popped up on Instagram. She was bawling because she lost her YouTube account. They canceled her, deleted her account after 250,000 followers because they said she was showing off her boobs too much. And I'm like, I've never seen this girl naked on YouTube, and I've never really seen her doing that much because I'm on YouTube, and every time I log into YouTube, I see a bunch of OnlyFans whores running around with a couple of bottle caps covering their nipples, wearing a thong, trying to get people to click over to OnlyFans. And I see this all the time. Like I always talk about, any genre of video that you have on YouTube where there's an established genre. Like, let's talk about wilderness survival and camping. So you've got Steve Wallace, you've got the guy Les Stroud, the Survivor Man guy from TV. You've got Prepper Nurse One. You've got other preppers and preparedness channels, wilderness survival hacks, and all that kind of stuff. And you got people that know what they're talking about. And then some bimbo in a thong shows up, and she's like, "I'm surviving in the wilderness now too. Look at me. I can start a fire." And so, like, every freaking genre of video on YouTube has this now. Auto mechanics. You got Scotty Kilmer. You've got Chris Fix, or whatever his name is. You've got John DeMiro. You've got Vin Wiki and all these other I like cars. You got entrepreneurs in cars. What's his name? He's kind of a jerk, but I watch his videos sometimes. Anyway, you got all these auto mechanic channels. Scotty Kilmer, he has 2.5 million followers right now. Probably took him 10 to 20 years of doing videos to get that following. I think he had a radio show, I think, or something on. Was he one of the car talk guys on NPR? I can't remember, but he had something going on before YouTube, I think, and he brought his audience. But anyway, it took him a long time to build that up. Now some bimbo in a thong shows up in a bikini. She's like, "I'm an auto mechanic now. Look at me. I can change a spark plug." And she's like going like this. The camera's looking at her tits. She's like, "Here's how you change a spark plug. Look at my wrench. Look at my wrench," right? And then she's like, "Oh, looks like I got to change a flat tire." And then she bends over. She's got like some whale tail hanging out the back of her mechanic's jeans or whatever. Her boyfriend holding the camera is the one that's telling her how to do all this stuff, because this chick couldn't change a flat tire if she called AAA. So, but now she's the auto mechanics girl with 75 million followers that she got in 3 weeks of prancing around in a thong. My point is, YouTube didn't cancel any of these girls' channels. They're still out there. So why are they canceling this girl? Because she put her boobs up to the screen during a couple videos. I'm like, I don't even consider that girl. I mean, she probably does have an OnlyFans account. I don't know. They all do. But I'm like, what did she say or do that pissed somebody off at YouTube that they just gave her the kibosh after 250,000 followers? They're like, "We don't want your advertising revenue anymore. You're done. You're out of here." Put the kibosh on her, and that was her livelihood. So you can't put all your eggs in one basket. I've seen that happen too many times to too many people. I've seen photographers get ruined by Facebook changing the algorithm and ruining their entire photography business. And as a result, I've seen a lot of different things happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody saying political things or talking about the COVID scam or Dr. Fauci's heart attack shot or whatever it is. It doesn't need to be that. They will cancel you pretty much for anything that they feel like at any time they want. And so I was just looking at that this morning. I'm like, what the hell did this girl do to get canceled? And they're not going to get, this doesn't sound like they're going to give her channel back. So she started a new one. She's got like 200 followers now. I was like, wow. And, but it's just to rely on these freaking scumbags that can just shut your life off in the snap of a finger. It's dangerous. Blue Sky says, I'm also trying to get multi-streams of income, and man, it's a tough get. It is. It's way harder. You know, if it weren't for my criminal record aspect of my life, I've already been offered six-figure jobs more than once since I got out of jail. And then they look at what happened and they're like, oh, never mind, take it back. Here in Houston, it's happened twice now in Houston. Big companies, you would know the name. And take a wild guess. What's the big business in town in Houston? So software designer, lead software designer, that kind of stuff. But when I was doing that for a living, I was making really good money, but then I had these golden handcuffs on my wrist, not from the FBI, but, you know, from my company. And now my entire life hangs in the balance of their whims. And so they could just decide one day, oh, we don't need software designers anymore. Goodbye. You're out. And then you're back to nothing. You're back to, you know, there was no stability in that career. When the money's coming in, it's coming in. But when they shut it off, it's off. And so that's kind of how my career always was. I just got used to it. I did a freelance business for a while. One of my clients was the biggest bank in Pittsburgh. And 80% of my income came from that client. And the rest, the 20% that was left over, came from 19 or 20 other clients. So I had lots of clients and I was doing lots of different things. But I would do these really big projects for this one client and make 80% of my income from it. And then the other 20% came from 20 different clients. And what happened was the 80% client, Saturday morning, we're talking about a job that I'm working on for him, having our meeting. You know, he was just checking in with me, had a busy day on Friday, whatever. He just wanted to touch base, see where I'm at. Wasn't expecting to work, but we just wanted to talk for a few. Talked to him for about half an hour, probably about noon. Monday morning, I get a call from another client early in the morning. It was like 7:30 in the morning. I get a call from another client of mine, and I was doing work for him too. So I just thought, whoa, that's kind of early, but well, I'm up. Let's see what happened. He gets on the phone. He's like, hey, Adam. I'm like, yeah, what's up, Bob? Hey, did you hear about what happened to Pat? Pat was my client, the big company. I'm like, no. I just talked to him the other day. What's going on? It's like he died. Hour after he got on the phone with me on Saturday, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he looks over at his wife. He goes, oh my God, I think and before he could even finish the sentence, he was on the floor and he was dead. His heart exploded. The dude was 50 years old, fit as a fiddle, really good shape, really good physical shape. Just help. I mean, you would never expect that would happen to this guy. No, this was way before the vaccine. This was like in 2006, 7, somewhere in that range. Maybe earlier than that. Hard to say. 2006. I want to say 2006. February, March, somewhere in there. I'm right around there. So there was a political fallout. He was a vice president. He was really high up, office, big glass office at the top of a big tower. Like, he was a big deal. And he was my client for a long time. Good. He became a friend. I got a lot of stories to tell about him. He was a really great guy. So now I'm in shock from that. Well, political shakeups, when something like that happens in a company, when somebody leaves and somebody new comes in, out with the old and with the new. So all the work that I was doing, they basically just put a cap on, said, bill us for what you did. Whatever money we owe you, we'll get you paid. But there were a couple other projects that I did annually for them and could count on getting paid for year after year. Those came to a halt. And then I got a few projects, side things here and there, side hustle, whatever. But they went from being 80% of my income to like whatever amount of money I made from them in a span of a year dropped down to like 10% of what I used to make working for them, because the guy died. And it wasn't like anybody did anything wrong. It's just new people come in, they hire their people. I wasn't in their club. So I lost that client because he died. I mean, straight up. And it put me in a tailspin. Financially, I was a train wreck for the next couple of years, just struggling to survive at this point. I went from thriving to just barely getting by. Like that. Because all of my eggs were in one basket. And that basket got a hole in it and all the eggs fell out, except for like one. And now I've got to take that one egg, hope that the chick hatches, and then it grows up to be a chicken, and now starts laying eggs so I can get more eggs, and I got to get a new basket, and that takes time and all, that it was a disaster. And then things started to pick up and go the right direction. And then it was October of 2008, and they flushed the toilet on the economy and the stock market and all that bullshit, where the stock market dropped, and then all the greedy banksters that blew up the economy and sank our economy, they came crawling to Congress, said, we need bailout money. We need bailout money. We need to be bailed out for the mistakes that we made. And then they took the bailout money and gave themselves big ass bonuses, bought themselves a bunch of yachts and mansions while the rest of us were fucked. 2008, 2009, the bank that I was working for, I sent out a $4,000 invoice for a job to a bank. The bank had just received $7 billion in bailout money from the government. They didn't even need to be bailed out. The government gave them $7 billion to buy another bank. Another bank was in trouble. The government said, hey, you guys, here's $7 billion, $7 billion taxpayer money. We're giving it to you. You guys can go buy this bank and they make it your bank. My best friends had just taken all their money out of the $7 billion bank, put it in the bank that was being bought, and now all of their accounts were back at the bank that they left. And this all happened so fast. But so this bank got $7 billion. Here it's 4 months has gone by and they didn't pay my invoice. And I'm struggling. Like, I need that money. Like, yeah, $4,000. Stretch that out over 4 months of not getting paid and rent's due. You need that money. And so I got snotty with them. I started saying, look, I said, if I was 3 months late on my if I was 4 months late on my mortgage to your bank, if I had one, I wouldn't do business with that bank ever. But if I was 4 months late on my mortgage with you guys, you'd have taken my house by now, right? You'd have already kicked me out of my house and took the house back. It would be foreclosed. But you guys can take 4 months to pay my piddly ass invoice. And I'm like, number two, I'm like, banks operate by making up money out of thin air. You only need 10% on reserve for the loans that you give out. So why are you hoarding this $4,000? Why don't you just pay the bill? But they were in a position now, because the economy's bad, they can just bully people around and do whatever they want and treat you however bad they want to treat you. And you just have to suck it up, buttercup, and deal with it. So I told them, I'm like, all right, if that's how we're going to play, here's what I'm going to do. If I don't have a check in my hand by the end of the week, I'm going to shut off all the websites that I still have control over. and you won't have them anymore. They're going bye-bye. And so all 2 days later, the very next day, there's a check in my mailbox from them for the full amount. And then like 3 days later, I get an email, a nasty email saying, we want all of the passwords and usernames, and we need you to transfer all of these websites to our ownership and whatever. And that was all, that was all good to go. I mean, they own all that stuff. It's not like I can just keep it. But they wanted me to transfer everything over to them so they could move it over to their own web servers and all that and get it off of the web servers that I maintained. And because they were mad. They were mad that I had the audacity to demand that they pay their bill 4 months after I sent the bill. And they're just like, who do you think you are talking to us like that? And I'm like, who do you think you are? If I was 4 months late paying my mortgage, I would be homeless right now. I wouldn't have a house. So don't give me that. And I'm like, I'm not someone who can be jerked around. I mean, I'll be nice to an extent. And then there's going to be a line that gets crossed and I'm done. I'm done playing nice. I'm going to be a jerk. But anyway, Blue Sky, there's a lady who does a bunch of shorts on doing laundry for a few people and one small business. Plus, she dog walks for a couple of dogs. She makes great money. Blue Sky, I thought about doing a laundry service from home. Those are all good ideas. Cleaning service. I know people who started a cleaning business. Get some cleaning supplies, get a bucket, whatever you need to go clean someone's house. There are websites that will facilitate you getting gigs like that, but you don't have, once you get a name for yourself, you don't have to rely on those gig harvesting websites that take a cut of your pay. You can just work, you can get customers directly. I've seen people do that. There was, I'm not even going to say the name because I don't want to dox people. But I know people who do that, who have done things like that. We were thinking about starting. Now, my ex was a pretty phenomenal baker. Now it turns out I'm a good baker. But at the time, she owned a different business, but she's a really good baker. And so we were in Pennsylvania, you can start a bakery from your home. So we were thinking about messing around with that, starting a little bakery business. Right around the corner from where I lived, there was an Amish place. They sell donuts. It's called Donuts on Saturday. It's in Volant, Pennsylvania, in the Amish area. You can look it up. Anybody who's out there can go get the great donuts. But you got to be there by like 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday or they're gone. They bake a bunch of donuts. They sell them, and it's a popular spot. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but it's a popular spot. They're gone. They make their money and they're out. There's a cheesecake place around the corner from where I was. Some lady makes cheesecakes from her house, and I make a damn good cheesecake now. I know how to do it, and it's so easy. I think that's like one of the easiest things we do at the bakery. And anyway, you can have, a lot of states allow you to have a bakery business from your home, and you can sell the stuff that you bake. You can't sell prepared food or things that have to be heated or things that are perishable or things like that, but baked goods and certain other things you can. So we were thinking about screwing around with that during the whole COVID scam and all that. So, yeah, see you later, Blue Sky. It was cool hanging out with all of you. I'm pretty much, it's like 7:58. I'll stick around for like a couple of minutes. I'll stay right until 7:800, and then I'll hit that stop button. And but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to come up with 6 different income streams, and I have 5 or 6 income streams, but they all suck. The freelance is definitely the most lucrative in terms of dollars per hour right now. And I could definitely build on that. But like I said, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I don't want to do all the freelance work for one client. I'll end up in the same place I was before. Something could happen to my client. Might not be any fault of mine or his or hers or whoever it happens to be. but I could be left holding the bag at the end of the day going, oh crap, how am I going to pay my bills next month? So I just feel like even though it's a long, hard process to develop multiple streams of income to where you have, I want 6 income streams that are equal in terms of the percentage of money they put in my bank account. That way, if the powers that be want to shut one off, I got 5 others to fall back on. And so if each one is 20%, if you have 5 income streams, that's 20% of your income. One of them gets shut off, you still got 80%. Or if you have 6 income streams, whatever 100 divided by 6, I can't do that math right now. That's not an even number. Well, with a calculator, 16%, 17% of your income. If they take 1/6 of your income away, you still have 5/6 left. If you had 10 streams of income that all do pretty well, but not like, they don't even need to be 6-figure, but if you had 10 streams of income that made you 10 grand a year, they shut one off, you still make 90,000 that year. That's the kind of concept I think that all of us need to think about, because yeah, you can make $100-something thousand a year at a job, and then tomorrow you're jobless. And in today's job market, you're screwed, because now you have to go on job interviews with an AI bot. You can't even talk to a human being anymore until like the 3rd round of interviews, and all this other goofy stuff that's going on, and the massive layoffs. And I mean, there's things. If it wasn't for the fact I have a criminal record, I could bounce from job to job. I have enough experience, and I had the resume. I still have the resume. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on, like Team India taking over the tech industry. I get emails. I had 17 emails the other day from Indian tech recruiters sitting in my mailbox when I woke up. 12 of them were all for the same job. 12 different Indians from different Indian fly-by-night recruiting companies all hitting me for the same job. All the jobs were in Dallas. So I'm like, delete. But I had one of the job offers that I lost here in Houston came from an Indian recruiter, but they're naturalized citizens. They spoke English. I could understand them on the phone. They had an Indian name, but I could tell this wasn't the typical, thank you for calling AT&T. It wasn't one of those. Actually in India. Because all those people are doing in India, they'll reach out to you with a job description. You send them your resume, you never hear back from them. What they're doing is they copy and paste the guts of your resume and put an Indian guy's name on it and send it to some company trying to get an Indian guy a job with an H-1B visa. But anyway, yeah, so we're about to say peace out here. Yeah, Angel in our midst, I'm really sorry to hear about your son. I don't know what I would do if something happened to one of my kids. You'd see me disappear from YouTube for a while. But thank you for showing up, everybody. And I had a really good time. And I'll try to figure out what we can do to get that Bible study going. I think that would be really cool. And we'll talk. But yeah, let's see how many people are still here. Yeah, we got Angels in our midst and JS. Peace out. Thanks for sticking out for the long haul. I'm going to say good night. I'm going to go get something to eat and watch another stage of the Tour de France that ended last weekend. It'll be next week when I get to the end. But anyway, talk to you later.